It is the 22nd of August 2023. It is a Technology Tuesday, as you know, and every Tuesday we have some really interesting conversations around the impact of technology in our own lives every single day. And today is no different. We shall be looking at the issue of the impact of technology. But we're taking a bit of a focus on how technology affects the ministry, how technology affects ministry. And that is a conversation that we are going to have for this evening. Remember that the +27734703520, that is +27734703520 is the WhatsApp number that you can use if you do want to talk to us this evening. If you want to give me a call, +2712001679, and it is the hashtag Business Sense AWR across all social media platforms. That conversation is coming up next. You are tuned into Business Sense on Adventist World Radio, powered by SID Media. As mentioned, today we're talking about the impact of technology on ministry, and we are speaking to Melusi Ndhlalambi, who is a media specialist, speaker, and executive producer with the MelVee Broadcasting Network, a divine voice out of Africa. He is a Christian content creator and a leading Christian YouTuber that many of our listeners may be quite familiar with, and I know he's already joining us on the line. My elder, good evening.
Greetings, fellow. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Yes, I can, and I'm delighted to be here. It's really a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We really appreciate your time as well. How was your day?
It's been a hectic day. I'm just waiting for my son to get home. He's celebrating his 21st birthday today, so it's been a great day. We thank the Lord for the privilege to be alive, and also to have some love around us and our freedom in Christ. We cannot trade that for anything else.
That's really beautiful. 21 years, you say?
Yeah, that's my son right there. He's getting older, man. He's getting out of my wallet very soon.
That's a very important one. Getting out of the wallet, right?
Yes, he needs to bring back the dollars I've spent on him. It's an investment.
Exactly.
And how are you doing?
Well, I'm doing very well. My elder. Thank you for asking. We wish the young man a happy birthday indeed.
Thank you so much.
And may you see many more to come out of this. Thank you so much, my elder, for joining us. Talking about the impact of technology on ministry. Before I even go into the questioning, I'd like to get your broad thoughts. I mean, as someone who's been in this space for quite some time, and I'm sure you've seen how technology has gone through different changes and, its impact on the ministry itself. I'm sure it's something that you've been at the forefront of. Broadly speaking, what has changed?
Oh, yeah. The internet has been a game changer.
Yeah.
I think we come from an old technology where you had to put your message and your products on a product or a cassette or a DVD, which is always limited to the person who has it.
Yeah.
And the coming in of the visual media, particularly the television, things started changing very rapidly because you could now beam your signals across the world, and you are no longer limited by the space where the tape is. You can actually play the tape and the airwaves carry it. So the discovery of the radio and mostly the visual, the television, is when the game changed. But I can also assure you that the advent of internet, which is the connection of one computer to the other or one cell phone to the other through the airwaves, has been a game changer. And now the speeds have gotten to a level where I could actually go live and still be talking to someone in the US in almost a 0.005 second delay.
Sure.
And so we could now connect the whole world, north, south, west, east, in just one click of a button, and going live, you now have the potential to reach billions. So the internet has taken us, I would say, television was like a fish pond, small little dam here where you can gather. But when the internet came in, it's almost like taking us through the rivers to the oceans. It's an open sea out there, and you're competing with all the biggest television and media houses. I would say the internet has been a game changer.
Sure. Isn't it scary if you think about the potential to actually reach billions? I mean, we are not talking just about a few people here.
Yes.
We're talking billions. Isn't that scary on its own?
For me, it's not even scary. It's the stuff that makes my blood boil, and I really feel this is it.
I see. Yeah.
I always dreamt. There were times one of my brother in Christ used to say, Ndhlalambi, we are going to fill these stadiums and preach in these stadiums when the truth is now needed. And I was like, no, man, we should just preach to the whole world. And that capacity, we have it now.
Yeah. Sure. Through technology, and that has been made possible by technology. And as someone who's got a YouTube page that's in the hundreds of thousands, let's talk about now the impact of technology on just the spreading of the gospel, trying to contextualize this billions that we are talking about.
Let me say, what we are witnessing right now is nothing short of the miracle of what God has allowed. It's remarkable, Tapelo. And if I tell you that technology has actually opened doors that were previously unimaginable.
Yeah.
And so through the use of live streaming, podcasting, right now as I talk to you, I'm recording you here. I'm going to flight this thing and send it out in the world just like that.
That's good.
And then you've got social media by its different categories, your Facebooks, your YouTubes, your TikToks. And, there are so many online resources that have allowed us to reach a global audience instantly. So the reach and the accessibility is unparalleled. I think if John is sitting in, or any of the apostles or the patriarchs are sitting in heaven and watching us right now, they are envious of the privileges we have.
That we have.
Because when we get to heaven, we're going to tell Paul, you had a shipwreck going to Melita. I didn't even need to leave my house to reach America. I reached the US in my house. So this internet technology, for me, I think has made preachers look very sluggish and slow. Because here's what I was telling somebody who came to Africa to preach from Canada. I think it was Melissa Nyoni. And I was saying, you know what? As you leave Johannesburg or Aratambo on your way to Atlanta or Ontario or wherever, by the time you get there in 19 or 20 hours or so, if I was to start live streaming the moment you take off, by the time you get there, I would have repeated a whole week's effort 3 times. In just 19 hours, because I only need, for 7 sermons, I need 21 hours to play them 3 times. And they would have reached thousands while this preacher is trying to get back home.
That context is amazing.
And here is the other context, Tapelo, that's amazing because of this internet thing. Do you realize that if you record a preacher and you put their sermon online and then this preacher dies, their works continue preaching even after they are dead? So here it is. For me, I see the dead and the living ministers joining forces online to finish the gospel. So God is saying, before you die, get your sermons published, get them recorded. So that even after you are dead, you will continue preaching. So while we say the dead know nothing, in media we say their works continue speaking. And so it's amazing. It's amazing. And this is what I said, I think it was 2018. Our church launched the ASI SID chapter of ASI.
Yeah.
So I was invited to speak there, and I remember I had this nice little graphic I had put in my presentation with some of these super jets, the fast jets. And I said an Advent messenger in a modern private jetliner cannot travel fast enough to all territories and reach all the 3,000 tribes in Africa. They cannot even beat the speed of a video, because at the click of a button on internet and live stream, that video travels the whole world instantly. And so I would like to believe that God has opened up an avenue for us that I believe we must take advantage of fully to spread the Advent message to the world.
Sure. Just from that description and the way you unpacking it and laying it for us, I think one can say that it's undeniable the impact of technology, right, in the spreading of the gospel. Just a click away, it could reach thousands and potentially millions of people. And I love that analogy that you used of someone who's flying back home. Like, look, before you even get home, I would have played your videos
the whole week.
Just need a couple of a whole week of someone. So it's undeniable the impact of technology. But I'm sure there are pros and cons, right?
Yes.
When it comes to this particular impact, what are some of the pros and what are some of the cons?
So I want our listeners to realize that the devil will never let a good opportunity slide away. In fact, he tends to corrupt it before it is cleaned out. And so one thing I can tell you, my brother, is that the pros for this is that we have an opportunity right now. I think I posted something on Facebook a few days ago, last week, because here I was sitting in my living room enjoying 4 camp meetings at the same time.
4 camp meetings at the same time.
Being spoiled. I'm talking about, I attended 4 camp meetings from Zimbabwe sitting in South Africa. So I could tune in to Mount Pleasant Church in Lomagundi. I could tune in to Mandara. I could tune in to Harare Church. There was another one, I think, at Djibouti. So there were many of them online. There were some even in Kenya that I attended. And the beauty of this was that I became part of a global community of people who are benefiting from these camp meetings. And I had the flexibility of knowing that even if I miss the divine service for the other camp, after I finish this one, I can always then partake of the other one.
Jump into that one,
because it's available online, So it presents that opportunity to be part of a community that I'm not physically present with. All right? And so we then have an opportunity to liaise and to talk and to chat and to establish that. But that doesn't mean everything is rosy out there. There are also cons to this thing. Like I mentioned earlier, the devil will never let a good thing go undefiled. I think as believers, what is becoming more critical right now is to ensure that we saturate that space with positive and relevant messages, because it's getting corrupted by day. Just to list a few of the cons or the negative stuff that you get there. And of course, even for me watching those camp meetings, if a phone call comes in, I'm on the phone call, I'm disrupted. All right. So it's unlike church, and preachers need to know this, that when I tune in and I'm online, don't waste my airtime with your announcements and all the other in-house protocol stuff. Okay, that technology is not built for that.
Okay. It's not built for that, right?
The moment you do your announcements, I'm out of there. Okay, because I've got data I'm chewing, and I need my return on that investment. So the live streaming needs to be cleaned out and made sure that it's optimum for those who are consuming it online. But the other challenge that comes with this stuff is that you can easily be overwhelmed by this content. I would like to believe that Satan is also flooding us with good things such that we are spoiled for choice, and in the end, the value diminishes. This is now the business side of economics, that when something gets too popular, gets available everywhere, its value sometimes diminishes. All right?
Yeah.
And so we tend to be overwhelmed with so many sermons that we never get time to watch all of them.
All of them, yes, yes.
So viewers need to develop a plan of how they're going to have to consume what they can and plan it in advance so that they don't miss out and also don't get flooded with 5 divine services, and they're all good preachers, and you're now, jumping from one to the other. And the other challenge also, with this internet, like I said, the devil also pushes in his extremist ideologies. And so you will find that there's confusion and drunkenness in the world, because according to Revelation 13 and 17, the woman who is that cup is also feeding you through the internet and through this broadcast. So you've got to be careful what you're watching online. Not everything that says Christian is Christian. Not everything that says Adventist is Adventist. There are also many out there who are fishing people out of the faith.
Yeah.
And the challenge as well is technology is good, but there's some things that are never meant for the public eye. So the challenge is that when you go online, you might be watching a very holy sermon, but your pop-up advert goes, what do you see there? A naked woman.
Exactly.
Or you could be busy really soaking into this sermon and it goes, what do you see? Beer is coming on. So that's the challenge of this internet, where sometimes some of these platforms would bring things that disrupt your attention and corrode your human spirit. And the other challenge is violence on these platforms. Sometimes you're watching a nice sermon, the adverts are coming in with violence in Ukraine or war somewhere else. And so the platforms online are also tolerating a lot of TV shows with a lot of sex scenes. There are video games there of shootings, and you are killing people in your media game. And sometimes people you are in a church group for WhatsApp or for sharing links to sermons and clips, and people just drop in a very graphic video. That's not even edited properly to protect you from sensitive information. So while we can share information like that, we also are sharing information that really is desensitizing people and exposing them to graphic scenes that are not really building our social impact or empathy and moral compass. And obviously, one can easily be addicted to these things. And you can find yourself jumping from one sermon, one clip to the other. Have you noticed also that most of our social media platforms, when you scroll down, the scrolling never ends?
It never does. I've seen especially young people with this TikTok thing. It never ends.
Yes, TikTok even posts, it lines up things according to your interest.
Exactly.
And so from one to the other. So it can be a challenge, and you can easily get drowned, and you can easily grow cold because this thing is always available. I can always watch it another time. And so we must, therefore, as Christians, as much as there are those challenges, I actually celebrate the fact that we are online and we are sharing Christ online, and we are reaching so many people that I cannot reach even if I go door to door. They won't open their intercom for me. I look like a thug. They might think I'm trying to dupe them, but if I send a video, put it online, it can access any closed, secure environments, and the gospel gets preached in there.
I suppose it makes sense then, the issue of, this gospel of shall be preached to all nations, as a testament. This is one way in which we are able to achieve exactly that. And I love the analogy that you used, that, those in heaven are actually envying us to say, look, man, this is really going the way it should. And I suppose God had, the advancement of technology and all that in mind. I just want to go back here, my elder, before we even move to the part about being overwhelmed. And we are spoiled for choice. I mean, that's the truth. Almost everything. We can scroll. I know people who scroll their way to sleep, on TikTok until they sleep. They can't sleep until they've scrolled through TikTok and all those stuff. And you realize that addiction that you are referring to.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something that's really important to say, develop a plan.
Yes.
Where do I start, Miles? As someone who's quite experienced in this field, what advice to someone who's saying, I am endlessly scrolling until I sleep? How do I develop a plan? Where do I start?
I think it requires discipline. I may not be able to share the full plan or proposition to help somebody out there, but maybe 3 key points might help on this one. Number 1, remember you are feeding your spirit. So have you identified what you are craving for? It goes even for food. You can't just, because anything is around, you just imbibe or you just, chew. No, you identify what you feel like eating. So that's where the discipline begins. I feel like listening to a very good sermon. All right?
Yeah.
And then the second question is, where is that food available, or where is that content available? All right? So if you decide, actually 3ABN does it for me, or it is written, or MelVee, or there could be other churches that are now live streaming, or other ministries. You could say maybe Live Destiny, the television guys, or you could say, no, it's actually Santon SDA Church. So the second thing is, once you identify where there's always good content and good food, high quality content that covers some of the areas you want to grow in, I then recommend people to subscribe to those channels.
Yeah.
All right. And click those bells so that whenever they upload that good quality you crave for, you get notification and then you can watch. So that becomes your consistent plan of cutting out all this other outcry that's already available for you to, So then that, this church goes live at this time, or they normally post their videos on such and such a time. And that's why we always encourage content creators to have a schedule and notify your viewers of your cycle of posting. All right. And then the third recommendation I have is to always keep time.
Okay.
Keep time. You could keep time by saying, I will look for my sermon between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. I'll feed. Or I'll do it at lunchtime, 1 o'clock. I'll look for the content. Or when I get home, my evening devotion is going to be the content I watch. All right. And then obviously some other times there will be new programs coming in from other places. Make a diary and indicate I'm going to be watching this program this week. I sometimes subscribe to seminars that Pastor Doug Batchelor does. And I register for them because I want to participate and, feed my spirit. So always remember, it's not about just following the river. It's about identifying your appetite and what you want to eat, and you fish that out and consume it and then move on. I think those are the few points I would advise.
Yeah, I love the part about subscription, because whenever they post something or, they go live, to notify you. I've seen that, without necessarily making it a huge thing. But I must say that every time when I go to my YouTube on Sabbath morning, the first thing that comes up is Santon SDA Church. So clearly there's something, around Santon, because
you know why.
I know why.
Because MelVee is there. MelVee is there. It's always giving you quality. And if you find a church such as that, of course, putting in a few words for Santon, their leadership has been quite fantastic in really making sure they don't just feed people who are on the church, but they also consider the hybrid of those who are online. And they provide quality content. So if you can find that quality production and quality content, you're sorted. Let that be your main feeding trough. Then others will come to supplement you.
True. That's very true. And I think once you find that quality, it's almost very difficult to leave because, you know, if you find others that are streaming on not so good quality, it's almost easy to say, no, I'm going to switch off and go back to what I'm used to.
Exactly.
So that's something that's really amazing. And I think that's why we brought you as our expert in this particular field. Now, let's talk about your experiences and then your insights when it comes to, you know, as a Christian content creator, right? How would you say your experiences then have shaped your perspective on online ministry, just your own experience?
I can say, my brother, it's been a humbling experience, but also one that I cherish dearly because I never thought God will find me worthy to do this work. But he planted the passion in me, and it's been almost 13 years now, and I've never looked back since the day I did my first video. I say humbling because I thought I'm going to change the whole world. I thought these videos would go, what's the word? The V word, viral.
Yeah.
You know, everyone is going to be watching this. And there could be so many people. But God humbled me in that I spent a year pouring into this ministry without even one subscriber. And sometimes you post what you think is the best video and it doesn't have traction online. Maybe it gets 1 or 2. But one thing I have come to, because you're asking about my experiences, is that what got us out to the point where right now, 13 years later, we are one of the leading Christian YouTube channels in South Africa and the world over, is because we espoused creating meaningful, practical content that would really impact people in ways we believe are important. And especially in this age where there's so much disruption of lives. And we have learned through COVID that we don't have the luxury of time. I have learned that you have to be authentic, and you've got to make sure that you form meaningful online relationships with people, because you are not just going for numbers. You're not just going for, you know, how many people have liked my video or how many likes and views do I have. You're dealing with real people with real issues. And so you've got to create that resonance and be as practical and relevant as you can be to people. And also know that you may never be able to minister to some people. So the challenge of people is they want to be popular online. They want to go viral and all of this. That's not why you were called. Okay. You were called to feed the flocks. So one of my experiences is that I thought I only do sermons, but lo and behold, I discovered there's a high appetite for music. Lo and behold, there's a high appetite for Bible studies. Oh, there are actually special interest groups like youth, like, you know, marriage, etc., etc. So as a Christian content creator, I then begin to diversify the type of content so that I can capture a wider network of people. I still must confess that it's been difficult for me to cater for the young ones, those who are 16 and below. So find your niche, find the type of content you want to produce, and be consistent with your quality. And one of the things I've also, you know, had the privilege was, and again, the reason why I was watching some of these camp meetings, you know, years before, I would be at one of these camp meetings physically, and I will be producing content at those sites. But this year I didn't. And I was so, you know, gratified to see some of the channels I have mentored and trained and supported doing this thing by themselves. You know, and sitting there and watching the Glen City Camp meeting. And by the way, we had so many South Africans in Zimbabwe this August. Maybe that's also one of the things why I felt hooked in because with so many pastors from South Africa. And the point is, I could see churches now embracing what for many years has sounded like a lone solo song I was singing. To say, guys, we need to go online. Guys, we need to be relevant to our changing global world. And by the way, MelVee was, I think we have the first online camp meeting that was streamed for 7 days in 2018, I think 2019, in Loma Gundi, in collaboration with Mount Pleasant Church. It was the first camp meeting ever in this territory. I'm yet to be corrected, and I'm willing to revise my stats, but I think we were the first ones to live stream. And I remember in that camp meeting, people who were attending other camp meetings were actually tuning in to watch with us.
That's interesting.
And I'm like, but are you not supposed to be listening to your preachers in your camp? And they're like, yes, we are, but we are also, watching on the side. And so for me, this is what I have always been praying for. That God could raise more evangelists and that more churches could embrace the vision and run with this digital media ministry, because the time is now. So you see, that's why I'm so proud of the work that Santon Church is doing. And other churches I've mentioned from Harare, such as Mandara, there's Bluff Hill, there's Harare City Church. You should have watched that Harare City Church, but I actually remember some people saying, oh, this thing is too opulent, it's too... And I was like, no, tell that person not to be intimidated by excellence. So I really want to celebrate those churches that have embraced that. I feel they are more now in this space, and there's much more capacity. So the challenge going forward is, how do we consolidate those gains and make sure that we're not a fragmented and confused bunch? I know the late Brother Kaleni. He often complained to me and said, Ndhlalambi, we can't just all be live at 11 o'clock with Divine Service and there are 20 other live streams. Can we be more coordinated? I think I now resonate with his call back then, because this is not about competition. This is about complementing each other. So kudos to those who are doing it and working as a team. And MelVee is quite privileged to be part of some of those networks.
I love that last bit where you said it's not about competition, it's about complementing each other and maybe finding ways to not work in silos, but in a more integrated way, which was going to be my next question around, is this competing? Which then, let's go to the question that says, talk about the money now. I think it's one thing we can't not talk about, right? What are the financial aspects of running such a media ministry? I'm sure, there is a cost that's associated with running this. You spoke about streaming online for the first time this side of the world in 2019. That must have been costly to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we come from the age where, yes, it was really very costly. It still is costly. But maybe let me put in this one sentence on competition, because that's one of the things that I think can become disruptive.
Yeah.
For me, I think competition is healthy if it leads to better content and a more structured and intentional outreach. Okay. But if it's going to be just competing for numbers and viewers, then the essence of ministry gets lost. So it is important that as we look at who is doing what and where, you're not trying to out-compete them, but you're trying to complement what they're doing. If you see that MelVee is doing a convention, why would you run a convention on the same day? Why don't you then make sure you run it another time so that you optimize consumption of this content that's being broadcast now? So collaboration and coordination becomes critical, and I wish we could do it in a more structured way. Now, coming to money, Yes, I think funding is crucial for ministry to be sustainable. I mean, if I can ask you right now, or any of our viewers, none of us just picked a Bible on the street. None of the equipment we are using right now was picked for free in the street. And so, yes, it costs a lot of money. And I would like to speak to our African audience or anyone listening to me right now. Let's make it a habit to support any ministry that seeks to take the gospel to the ends of the world. You're just adding stars to your crown if you do that. So the focus for us as ministries should not be on raising money. We should not struggle to get money.
Yeah.
And it's not about financial gains, because people think they're giving to me as Ndhlalambi or to Tapelo, and therefore I'm enriching Tapelo. No.
Yeah.
If I could get all the money I have, in fact, this is the story. If I can just put my story right there. If people think what MelVee has done up to today is the best, you're wrong.
Oh, there's still more.
I believe and I know that there is so much we could do, but we're limited by resources. And this is not just my story. If you ask any ministry out there, they'll tell you, if only I had more resources, I could do more. By the way, the devil knows this. He knows that if resources are released to us, his kingdom is in trouble.
Yeah.
But again, we need to realize that the Bible even says it, the wisest of men, I think it's Solomon in the book of Ecclesiastes, that he says, wisdom is a defense and so is money. So with money you can defend, you can do anything. But of course the excellence of wisdom is that it gives life to those who have it. The sad thing, Tapelo, is that we have people who say they don't have money, but look at the cars they're driving. It doesn't make sense. I always joke with some of our church leaders to say, hey, this guy called Budget seems like he runs away from anything related to ministry, but he only appears when there's a potluck at church. When people want to eat and drink, that money will be found. But when it's money for mission, sorry, my elder, the budget. This guy, we must arrest him for mission.
Yeah. We must certainly do that.
And for me, the point is you can never put a unity cost on the investment we do for Christ, because each soul is valuable to Christ. Can you imagine Jesus taking his whole team of 12 men with their budget, going to Galilee but saying, let's pass by Samaria first? So he creates a journey to go to Samaria. I'm on John 4 now and 5.
Yeah.
Just so he can get there and witness to one woman. One. The whole team is sent to buy bread so that Jesus can find an opportunity to minister to one person. Because there's not enough money we can put in that equates to the value of a soul that's won for Christ.
Yeah.
So let's put in the money where our mouth is.
Definitely. We've got a minute or so, my elder, and my question then would be twofold. You know, the influence of technology in spreading the message of the second coming of our Lord, how important that is, and also in the same vein, where can people follow MelVee on all social media platforms?
Thank you so much. And the quick message I'll give is this.
Yeah.
If you're an Adventist, you know the three angels' messages were seen flying in the midst of heaven. The same goes for the fourth angel of Revelation chapter 18, flying in the midst of heaven. And so we have to take this message through the internet and get it around the world, because that's what's shortening the distance between the pulpit and the people. And so let's convert our pulpits to platforms. Let's convert the pews in our churches to views. Let's change the amens we get in church to likes and subscriptions on live. Church membership no longer has to be in your register in your church, physically present. Online people can also be part of our church structure, and we have a real-time worldwide opportunity to reach the world. And that's what Revelation encourages us. We must therefore use this technology to make sure that we reach the ends of the world. It's not about going viral. It's about presenting present truth to the world. And if there's anyone out there who's interested to follow us, MelVee Broadcasting Network is on all major social media platforms. We broadcast mainly on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and just search for MelVee Broadcasting Network, you will find a channel with over 151,000 people and thousands of videos. There's definitely something for you there. If you don't find it, let me know what it is. We will create it.
We'll create it.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was just looking at it. 151,000 subscribers. That definitely makes it one of the biggest in the world.
It is.
And as always, thank you so much, my elder. It's always great to chat to you. We wish you nothing but the best going forward. And of course, we'll click that subscribe button.
Yes.
We are subscribed as it is.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thanks to your listeners and to yourself for hosting me on this business sense. I think this should be ministry sense.
We're going to change it. My producers are listening. This is a ministry sense. And, we'll collaborate together in this ministry as well.
Yes. It's not about just going live and liking and subscribing. It's about making sure the message is also carried out. So thank you so much and all the best to you and your listeners.
All the best to you. May God bless you and have a good night.
Amen. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. That was our elder there, Melusi Ndhlalambi, talking to us about the impact of technology in the ministry.